Good morning, and welcome to the launch of the annual Lithuanian FinTech Landscape report. My name is Gintarė Bačiulienė. I am head of technology team at Invest Lithuania. I'd like to start today's event with a quote by Roy T. Bennett. Change may not always bring growth, but there is no growth without change. Today you will be the first to hear the key insights how Lithuanian FinTech sector developed over the past year. At the end of 2019, we took a snapshot of the sector, we surveyed FinTech companies in Lithuania, and we're very excited to share the insights with you. In just 3 short years, Lithuania has transformed from a FinTech wannabe to a globally recognized magnet for FinTechs, which is now in the top 4 locations in terms of attractiveness, alongside with US, UK, and Singapore. That's a great achievement. How did we do it? I think the secret recipe lies in having a clear focus and a vision, and concerting the actions by the government, the regulator, and the industry. One of the institutions that's been instrumental in driving the development of FinTech sector in Lithuania is, of course, Ministry of Finance. Therefore, now I'd like to invite Vilius Sapoka, Minister of Finance, to say a welcome word. Please welcome, Minister.
Good morning, everyone, dear friends. I am pleased to welcome you to this annual event where we all share our progress, achievements. Just a few years ago, I could have not imagined how can we grow so fast. But as it was already mentioned, now we are number 1 in the European Union. Of course, thank you to our colleagues from the UK. Whenever I travel abroad, I always being asked how could you manage to be so fast. So, of course, it's the key of our success is a unique cooperation between Minister of Finance, the Central Bank, Minister of Economy and Innovations, Invest Lithuania, and many others, and of course market participants. So the strength is our cooperation. And I would like to say thank you to all of you, because everyone who is now here is a very important factor of our mutual success. What I would like to stress that I see the opportunity, another opportunity in sustainable finance. As I say, sustainable or green finance is more about data and less about trees. Therefore, it's a great niche, and I do believe that we also can be successful in this area as well. And finally, I'd like to stress that it's not a coincidence that we gathered together on the St. Valentine's Day. Why? Because we love FinTech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now I'd like to invite the so-called godfather of FinTech in Lithuania, Marius Jurgilas, board member of Bank of Lithuania, to say a welcome word.
Thank you, Gintarė, and welcome to the FinTech community, and we are very happy to have you. And yes, I guess my job is to overview the 2019, actually without seeing the report. I didn't see the report. No one saw the report. Everyone is looking forward to see what the result is. But what do I remember from 2019? I remember that International Monetary Fund called us and said, can you do a lecture? Because we want to understand how did you do that? World Bank called us and said, can you do a training session for our staff? And 2 days ago, I was at the place where 4 years ago we went to see how it's done, and Bank of Israel forced me to do a full day of everything, trying to explain from regulatory perspective, how do you interact with the Minister of Finance? How do you deal with the Parliament? Because we have issues with Knesset, politics. I said we also have issues, and you have to find solutions. And I guess our strength is at finding solutions. And what the result is, you just have to look at the room of people here from various institutions, various businesses. And to me, this is a measure of success. And what is the impact to the broader society? It's not for me to judge, and I guess it's our consumers receiving much broader services. And as the minister just said, we also have to think about sustainability, and not only in the sense of green or other type of sustainable development goals, but sustainability from a financial risk perspective. Because if we do not deliver on that, next year we will not be number 4. We might be number 14. But if we deliver, sky is the limit. So I'm very much looking forward to the results of our review.
Thank you, Marius. People say that best things come in threes. So we could not miss the opportunity to have the third welcome speech by a very special guest who is visiting Lithuania for the first time. No, that's what I was told, but not the first time. But the first time on this occasion. So please welcome President and CEO of Swedbank, Jens Henriksson.
So thank you very much. I don't know how many times I've been to Vilnius. This is my first time in my new position as the CEO of Swedbank. I love coming to Vilnius, and it's just great. I started coming here, I think the first time was 91 or something like that, and I'm sort of development is just astonishing. I must say I had a really bad day, and I woke up like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we had issues with our network, and we've been down sort of all over in Sweden, in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So, but the key point is not I had a bad day. The key point is that our customers had a bad day. Sort of people who wanted to pay with their credit cards, people who want to send direct payments, and we were not there for them. And for that, I'm very sorry and ask for apology. But that also says something how important the things we do. When we have an issue like this, we affect people all over the world because they might be traveling using our cards, and it's top of the headlines. Therefore, I was a bit happier that the day went better and better, and if it's going the direction it's going right now, it's going to end really good, because I had a good customer meeting, I had a good meeting with the Minister of Finance, and now I saw that the sort of web is sort of the network is coming up, and then I stand here in front of you to talk about the Lithuanian FinTech Ecosystem Overview, and I see it here with friends, partners, competitors, but most of all, I see sort of a spirit, and I'm extremely proud to be here standing in front of you and be one of the opening speaker with sort of one of the leading FinTech capitals in the world. Good luck, and I'm waiting to see for the results. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henriksson. So I think with all of that prep work, you're already very eager and excited to actually see what are the key findings and the key highlights of the Lithuanian FinTech sector. So the person who will do an overview of the key findings is a person who was actually the main driving force in preparing the report and has put enormous amount of time and effort in actually making it happen. So please welcome my excellent colleague, Rugile Stonyte, Senior Investment Advisor at Invest Lithuania.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see so many of you here today. Our colleagues, our partners, our investors, and our talented local FinTech ecosystem players. Lithuania's FinTech ecosystem would have never went this far if not for the hard work and collaboration of various ecosystem players and institutions. Thank you, Bank of Lithuania, Ministry of Economy and Innovation, Ministry of Finance, and many others who have helped to create this vibrant ecosystem that we have today that doesn't stop surprising the world for one day. Who is this little country making so much noise? So, as last year, this year again, it was a very interesting task to count all the FinTech companies that have been established in Lithuania, to contact them, to ask to fill the survey, and finally analyze the results. And without further hesitation, please download your new FinTech Landscape in Lithuania report. And if you like it, please share with others and help to spread the word about what we all are trying to build here. When you were entering the ROCKIT, you must have received the little cards with the QR codes. And if you haven't, please take one before you're leaving, or if you have time, please scan it right now. So 2019 marked a significant milestone for FinTech in Lithuania. In this year, Lithuania received a very kind recognition by a Findexable Global FinTech ranking, nominating Lithuania #4 FinTech location across the globe. Furthermore, Vilnius was recognized as #1 city worldwide by attracting greenfield FDI tech projects, outranking cities like Berlin, Tel Aviv, Singapore, and even London. And we didn't stop there. Lithuania this year climbed several steps up in the global ease of doing business ranking, and we are very happy that we are taking #11 this year. So the numbers speak for themselves, and actually they continue to be very instrumental in spreading the word even further. So within our team, we were holding this number about how many FinTech companies there are established in Lithuania for quite a while now. And I must say I'm very happy and very relieved to be finally able to say it out loud that at the end of 2019, we have calculated there were 210 FinTech companies established in Lithuania. The sector has grown by 24%, and we actually don't see a reason why this number should be stopping here, as at the moment we have more than 100 projects in our pipeline. As last year, this year, FinTech companies that are headquartered in Vilnius or in Lithuania take the largest share of the FinTechs in Lithuania. However, it's important to note that this number does not only represent FinTechs established by Lithuanian entrepreneurs, but also those of other countries who found our investment environment more favorable than their own, or even non-EU entrepreneurs who, with the help of Startup Visa, have relocated to Lithuania and began establishing their long dream FinTech startup here in Lithuania. So if looking at the FinTechs that are headquartered not in Lithuania, in other countries, the number of them have grown by 50% this year. And among those that are quartered outside of Lithuania but within EU, majority of FinTechs come from United Kingdom. And if looking at non-EU countries, majority of FinTechs, as last year again are from United States. If looking at the core business activities that FinTechs engage in that are established here in Lithuania, again, by far, payments and remittances take the largest share of the sector. However, we see that other segments such as lending, digital banking, InsurTech have been growing as well. In the segment named Other, you would be able to find FinTech companies that are mostly engaged in analytics, big data, blockchain, assets management and personal finance. And the segment that has seen the largest drop this year, not surprisingly, was crypto. But in more detail about this, you will hear in the presentation of ROCKIT, our partners who helped us to create this report and do the survey, who will analyze and show actually who are present in Lithuania at the moment. So with this new addition of fintech companies in Lithuania in 2019, we are very happy that a number of global, well-recognized fintech brands have chosen Lithuania to set up their operations and began operating here. So companies like SumUp, Flywire, Factories, Sonect, Verse, they all came to Lithuania last year, and we're very happy to welcome them to our ecosystem. Another statistic or vertical that we measure our success and the growth of FinTech Hub by is the number of job places created by fintechs in Lithuania. So we are very happy that last year the sector has grown by 31%, and as of the end of 2019, fintech companies in Lithuania employ over 3,400 people. And it's important to note that this number doesn't even include several large local companies that perhaps have payment institution licenses, but fintech is only a tiny bit of their overall operations. So at the moment, average fintech company in Lithuania has 16 employees, and the average salaries that they pay well outperform majority of other industries. When we were doing the survey together with ROCKIT, we are very happy that this year even 102 companies provided answers to our questions, which gave us a great chance to analyze almost 50% of the market. And we were very happy to see that companies here hire a variety of functions and people from various disciplines. And not surprisingly, of course, you can see majority of them hire IT, engineering, compliance, ML, product management, and so on. And of course, many of the fintech companies that are in Lithuania, they're still large, rather small startups that perhaps just started operating, and perhaps they only have 1 or 2 people that have to perform various responsibilities and a lot of roles in one, so perhaps they were not able to mark one of the choices in our provided discipline. However, when looking at the data from the companies that were established in Lithuania 2 years ago or 1 year ago, we noticed that it really takes about 12 months for the startups to really kick off operations and start building the teams. And we noticed that a lot of fintech companies that last year had 1 person, this year employ several. And finally, the greatest statistic is that 97% of the respondents to our survey indicated that they are planning to expand their teams in Lithuania over the next year. A lot of the fintech companies that we have in Lithuania would not have come here if not for Bank of Lithuania, our regulator, who keeps looking straight into the eye of the innovation and brings Lithuania to the future of financial services. We are very happy that second year in a row, Lithuania is number 2 jurisdiction in European Union by the number of electronic money institutions and payment institutions issued here. But this is the total number as of the end of 2019. They weren't that quick to issue that in 1 year. But really, the smooth and quick licensing processes that Bank of Lithuania is able to undertake very well outperforms majority of other jurisdictions. Furthermore, you must all be aware of Centralink, which is a payment system run by our regulator, Bank of Lithuania, which allows electronic money institutions and payment institutions which are licensed in European Economic Area to access SEPA payments. So this year, they reached very incredible results, I must say. So by the end of 2019, there were 85 institutions connected to this system, and their total value of transactions amounted to almost 45 billion euros. So we are very excited to see the other initiatives that Bank of Lithuania is doing to come to the final stages in 2020, like LB Coin, LB Chain, and many others. Looking more broadly at our ecosystem, there are several trends that we expect. We notice perhaps they're not very surprising, but because you all are very much engaged into ecosystem and you can expect as well what is happening. So definitely we see a further sector growth both by the number of fintech companies and by the number of job places created here. Furthermore, we are expecting and actually hoping that changes and open banking will foster growth of new and perhaps not yet popular business models in Lithuania, such as personal finance. In regards to the talent pool, we definitely see a rising demand for compliance and ML specialists, but at the same time, we are very happy to see that universities are actually replying to this rising demand by introducing new courses that will cover fintech and compliance-related studies. And finally, we also see that increasingly larger amount of international talents are discovering career opportunities in Lithuania. And thanks to the initiative run by Invest Lithuania, which is called Work in Lithuania, also startup visa procedure, quite a number of international fintech professionals have relocated to Lithuania and joined our ecosystem. And in regards to infrastructure, we definitely see a rising interest from international venture capital firms and also accelerators to our ecosystem, so we're hoping more of them will join our ecosystem as well. And furthermore, several institutions at the moment are organizing some initiatives to further raise Lithuania's fintech excellence. So we're very much looking forward to see that coming live in 2020. So thank you very much for your attention. The data that you've seen here, the insights that you've seen here, you can further read and analyze once you download our report. And as from Invest Lithuania, for 2020, we have very ambitious plans. We will not stop helping international companies to discover business opportunities in Lithuania. We will continue spreading the word, our FinTech hub, around the globe, and hopefully we'll bring some more exciting new brands home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rugile. As you know, ROCKIT is the most buzzing, the most welcoming, and the most proactive FinTech hub in Vilnius. We're very glad that we partnered with ROCKIT for the production of the report, and I would like to invite Sarune Smalakyte, head of ROCKIT Vilnius, to continue the highlights from the report with the focus on FinTech community in Lithuania. Please welcome Sarune.
Hello, everyone. So it's really wonderful feeling to welcome you at our home, where we run FinTech innovations daily, and we try to build this community around the name ROCKIT, with a high ambition to make innovations, to grow them, and bring them to the world. From what Rugile already briefed us, it seems we are doing pretty well, but I'm here to talk more about community activities in Lithuania. So when this report started 3 years ago, we had a goal to count the companies and basically to see what the numbers are we talking about, because at that time everybody was talking FinTech, but nobody had a clear answer. So what are we talking about? With this report developing, we see a high increase in interest from the community members, and having surveys filled by around 49% of all the companies here in-house shows that we are doing a great job in getting more and more community feedback from all of you. As ROCKIT, we try to build the neutral ground for various levels of ecosystem players, and from the audience today, we have government representatives, we have banks, we have fintechs, we have companies for fintechs that help to build their products, and this is one big family that's, as Vilius Sapoka said, is celebrating the love of fintech today. So let's move to our yearly FinTech map. So this is also the initiative that comes together with the FinTech report yearly, and for the third time we are mapping all the companies that are existing in Lithuania. So this magical number 210 will be in your heads and minds at least for a year or half a year till we update this map. And in case you don't find your company or you know the ones that's missing, please get back to us, and we are happy to update it. We realize that there is no one golden source for Lithuanian FinTech companies, so we had to create one. So from the map, we can recognize a couple of local frontrunners, are part of the ones mentioned before in Rugile's presentation. So Fininbox, Monobank, that will be here with us today on the panel discussion, Profitus, Ondato, FinB lending platform, Neo Finance, SME Finance, Moku, Savi, and Paysera. So if we look deeper into what are the core business activities in Lithuania, we would find those segments. But also with this year's report, we realized that we really need a definition. So what is Lithuanian FinTech, and how do we count those companies down? So we realized that FinTech organization, first of all, needs to be, if we talk about Lithuanian FinTech, needs to be registered in Lithuania, operating here, and having at least a single person running a business. Also, it is an organization that undertakes activities related to innovative business models, technology that enables the disruption of financial services. So as we can see, no surprise that payments and remittances is the leading category of all. Also, financial software is catching up, and for the first year we tried to differentiate, because previously financial software was in the middle of all the other companies but didn't have its category on its own. As well, lending, corporate, private, SME lending, all counted as one and makes 11% of Lithuanian market. Talking about crypto, it goes together with blockchain and takes 6% of the market. Coming back to the survey, so this is how many companies filled our survey, and we want to share a couple of findings that were very insightful about our ecosystem. So we take this number as a whole. As mentioned, 49% of all the companies, FinTech companies in Lithuania have answered, and they represent companies in different sizes, from 1 person up to 200 and plus. Also, they are local and international businesses. They do license and non-license activities. As well, they represent various key sectors, especially from the categories that are most dominant in the market. So we go deeper and we see the business models and what our fintechs are actually working on. So the majority, 40%, still tries to cover both B2B and B2C sectors. 11% for B2B2C. On the right side, on your side, we have pure B2B and pure B2C. That's also catching up. P2P is just has 4% and other 5% of the market. What are the target markets for Lithuanian fintechs? So our questionnaire findings show that Europe is total dominant for 99% of fintechs in Lithuania. That means international and locally created. As well, 23% express their interest into North America, Asia Pacific 24%, and these are the top 3. We see shifting trends. Looking at this map, currently there is more interest comparing to last year to European market, and decreased interest to Asia and North America. Why so? We see that FinTech globally is growing and more interest from various companies and counterparties, and European fintechs have a real challenge. How to get into foreign markets when there are local startups that are growing, that are becoming unicorns, and we need to stand the competition. For 2 years in a row, we asked this question: so how do you see your partnership with financial institution? For many, there is still a rule that the bank should be as a distribution channel as a partner. Also, bank as a customer takes number 2, but we see a shifting trend towards being very dependent from the banks, working and partnering with them, piloting their solutions, to working more independently. So if we look at the data from 2018, so basically bank as a customer was perceived from 51% of the companies, now it's only 35%. And we are happy at the same time that some of the fintechs become competitors to banks on their own. This is stage of funding, and we can look how do companies survive in Lithuania. So proudly, not 38% of the companies are mature enough to survive from their own revenue streams. In Lithuania, 30% of the companies are bootstrapped, basically live from their own investments, family and friends. The others received seed, pre-seed, Series A, B, or C investments. And right now, ICO investments take only 3%, decreased from last year. If we look what companies are aiming to raise in the upcoming years, we have a couple of numbers. We know that startups don't go with high ambition and future plans, business models. So over 20% of the companies want to raise from 1 to 5 million in the next funding round. 18% of the companies want to raise 5 million and more. 16% of the companies will raise up to 1 million. So we know that revenue growth, and this is how we measure the success of Lithuanian fintechs, is also increasing in Lithuania. So expected global revenue growth in 2020. By 19 companies, they plan to increase it by from 100 to 300%. 12 will triple down. But 35% of the companies at Lithuania currently are pre-revenue or no revenue at all. And there is one organic reason. International companies especially move to Lithuania for research and development, IT development, compliance, AML, but sales and business development come after. Also, many companies in Lithuania included in this map are operating for the first year. Let's talk about key challenges. So we asked our survey participants, so what challenges did you see in 2019 and what challenges do you expect in the upcoming year? So in 2019, core things were product development and IT development, regulatory compliance that goes together with PSD2, and customer adoption. It doesn't change much in 2020. Customer adoption and product IT development remains in the lead, but international expansion for many companies comes in the first place. When we talk about key opportunities for 2020, after hearing today's welcoming speeches, I would add one more, so that would be sustainable finance. But this is the view from the FinTech angle. So open banking, instant payments, personal finance, digital currencies, as well as RegTech should be the leading topics in the upcoming year. Let's talk about diversity and inclusion. For the first time in our research, we added this topic, and we wanted to see what's the gender diversity and multinationality of the companies in Lithuania. So we're proud that Lithuania is the first in the EU for share of women working in the high-tech sector. When it goes to fintechs, 51% of the companies we asked have one or more female executives in LT. In Lithuania. But basically, sometimes this 51% makes from 0 to 30% of the companies regarding the female ratio in their teams. So we have right now 40% of Lithuanian fintech companies that don't have or have very small number of women in their teams. But something to be proud about, 39 companies right now in Lithuania are multinational in their teams in Lithuania. We are here to support your growth, and these are the great people behind the community activities, various initiatives. So we have government organizations and agencies like Invest Lithuania, Our Neighbors Go Vilnius, MITA, Startup Lithuania. In Lithuania, 2 FinTech associations are existing and pretty active, going into direct meetings with startups, helping them out on a daily basis. So this is FinTech Lithuania by Infobalt and FinTech Hub LT. There is a bunch of ecosystem facilitators, and if you don't know where to go, these would be the ones to start with. So as you can see and stay here today, and actually that was the closing day of the first FinTech accelerator program in Lithuania, our startup Wise Guys. That's had its graduation day on Tuesday. So that shows the development of new programs, of new supportive initiatives, and the further growth of your FinTech company. Also now Lithuania is top 4 in the world for developing FinTechs in the country. I hope you learned something new today. So let's connect, and I would like to thank my team who really contributed for making this report happen and keeps developing FinTech community on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarune. So as you've seen, Lithuania is a perfect example that government can be a catalyst for FinTech innovation. If it can continue to be that catalyst, if there are any challenges, if there are any opportunities for us to be even better, we hope that we'll find out in the following panel discussion, which will be moderated by Marius Jurgilas. Please welcome to the stage our panelists. Marius Kuodis, Vice Minister of Economy and Innovation, Sigitas Mitkus, Advisor to the President of the Republic of Lithuania, Algimantas Rimkūnas, Advisor to the Minister of Finance, and Mindaugas Petrauskas, Deputy Director of the Financial Crime Investigation Service.
Thank you, Giedrė. So, I would like to say ladies and gentlemen, but I have to say just gentlemen. I guess that is just to counter, and to restore the gender balance. We might have, as we have so many women in the FinTech community. Yes, but to get serious, so on this panel, as was just announced, we have who is who in institutional financial technology sector, Ministry of Innovation and Economy, the highest level representation from the President's Office, the Special Advisor on FinTech issues and Foreign Affairs in European Union, Sigitas, the leader on financial technology at the Ministry of Finance, Algimantas, and the voice of reason from our FIU, Mindaugas Petrauskas. And my job is to be as provocative as I can. And I guess my first question would be to Sigitas. Sigite, as you remember, 4 or 5 years ago, we sit down and say, let's do it. What would you say is the next challenge, and how would you put that in front of the audience and in front of a sector and in front of institutions? What needs to be done to cement our achievements and maybe to think of new ones? How do you see that? And I guess you will have to speak now in your current capacity as representative of the President.
Thank you, Marius. And of course, it's great to be part of the tradition which cements us and encourages to think about the future. Talking about pillars where we can go together, of course, sustainable finance now is very hot topic for everyone. Then risk management, and I do believe that this theme could be very promising for Lithuania. And I remember my president at FinTech in conference mentioned that Lithuania has a very solid ground to be center of excellence for risk management, in not only in the European Union but in the world. Having everything for this, having very vibrant FinTech community, many compliance officers, good regulator, forward-looking policymakers and institutions. And of course, today our president is in Munich, meeting not only automotive industry representatives, but also investment funds people, also people dealing with FinTech, and also talking about wealth tech, about our success, how we have managed to create one of the best jurisdictions for financial services in general.
Thank you, Sigita. And Mario, the question for you will be on doing business, so you can start thinking about the answer. And why doing business? This is another achievement for Lithuania, and I'll delegate to Vice Minister to tell us what the achievement is, because the first question we get whenever we talk to constituency about the FinTech, about finances, what is the impact? Why does it matter? And you know, it is the case that finance is the juice of the economy that, you know, that makes everything go. And can you, Mario, tell us how the rankings in doing business, do they reflect our achievements in FinTech, or broadly more speaking in finance? And where would you see the next steps besides, you know, energy, accessibility, and other things that we can improve in Lithuania, or, you know, lead the region to push our rankings even higher? Of course, we're not doing it just for the rankings, because, you know, what's the point? But, you know, if finance is not serving our business, I guess there's no need.
Regarding the doing business, of course, we are very happy about achievements, that actually next year I'm sure we will move upwards, because we implemented a major insolvency reform, and I think my colleagues from the Ministry of Finance and former colleague at the Ministry of Finance, Sigitas, worked a lot on that. So we will be higher. But I think what's the most important thing is not to be probably number 5 or so. I will be very worried when we reach top 5, because then what will be next? The most important thing about doing business is thinking, constant thinking, what we could improve in our regulatory environment in general in order to stay there. This is not about number. This is about thinking how to move forward. And of course it helps. It helps to see that we are number 11. It will help to see that we will be in top 10 next year, hopefully, for everyone, because then it basically catches your attention, and then you start looking at Lithuania, what is happening there, and what we could do there. What's next? What we keep hearing from the business community. I'm from the Ministry of Economy. And every time when we meet business representatives, at the moment, the hottest topic is financing. How to get financing, where to get it from. From my personal perspective, it's also about investments. I can say honestly, you know, maybe I won't be too diplomatic, but since you're provoking me, for my personal investments, I'm using a British robo-advisor because it's cheaper. And when I looked at all the sectors there, I didn't see wealth tech companies here. I would like to see them here. So just some initial thoughts.
Yes, thank you, Mario. Very good that you brought up the subject of insolvency. And I can immediately link it to the, you know, access to credit, because if it used to be that on average it takes 1 year to get your money back once you have a claim and everything is in your favor, the law and everything, but still you don't get the money, then maybe it is understandable why our creditors, you know, are so reluctant to lend to small and medium enterprises. And that's why last year we saw an uptick of 1/3 of denials on access to credit to small and medium enterprises in Lithuania. And I'm very happy to have a very high-level representative from one of the biggest banks in Lithuania here and there. because the credit limit decisions are being made on this side of the room, not in that one. And we are very looking forward to that. That would reflect the economic potential in Lithuania. But everything also needs to be done on our side. And now I'm switching gears to a bit broader context on issues, because not exactly everything can be led, initiated, and implemented at the government level or the president's office level. We are still part of this broader community called European Union. And Algimantai, I'm sure that the Minister of Finance has been clearly following the representations on the initiatives at the European level on all these things that we are now talking about: alternative access to finance, and the new initiative of the newly elected European Commission to review the FinTech Action Plan. How can we be part of that, and where are our strengths, and what should we do for the next year?
Thank you, Marius, for your question, but I would like to start with my introduction that you did. So I'm really now again at the Ministry of Finance, which I rejoined 3-4 months ago, and I have very interesting personal experience in that respect. When I was leaving Ministry of Finance in autumn 2016, I remember the first meeting of FinTech working group on 29th of July. We were at the very embryonic stage of all matters in FinTech, and after returning from Sweden, where I spent almost 3 years in diplomatic service, now I see tremendous, amazing progress in Lithuania in FinTech area. Of course, Lithuania, as all other EU member states, are basing their policies on those regulations and directives that are commonly produced in Brussels in European Commission, and our experts are contributing to that, also working in working groups, and implementation or transposition of those documents in the national legislation is very, very important. But on the other hand, Lithuania being the number 4 globally and the first or the second in the European Union, very often can advise, I think, even European institutions on the most promising and the most efficient directions that we all should move. And speaking about the current composition of the European Commission, and especially the new heads of the European Commission, we know that Green Deal is on the top, or one of the top of the agenda, and we really, and my minister just mentioned here that we see really big possibilities for synergy between FinTech instruments, blockchain instruments on one hand, and green financing, green investment. Again, we just came back from our visit in Stockholm and had several very interesting meetings, and one of the most memorable was in Stockholm, Green Digital Finance Center, and we learned a lot about the possibilities to join FinTech instruments, blockchain instruments with green field, and not only with green fields. We learned ourselves that FinTech is a universal instrument which could be very efficiently applied to many, many areas.
Yes, I guess we're living in very interesting times where, you know, people are really looking forward not to the new glamorous issuance of shoes, but are happy to buy used stuff, and, you know, because it's pre-loved. Yes? Yeah. And here I would like to divert to the audience and maybe ask, in the context of what has been mentioned, how many of you know what the Fair Adjustment Fund is about? Raise your hand if you ever heard such a phrase, Fair Adjustment Fund. a person working on Brussels issues, I see, a journalist, and all of the ecosystem, which is in desperate need of funding, have never heard about that. Where have we failed? Before you answer, Fair Adjustment Fund is an initiative of European Commission saying, okay, if we go green,
Marius, just transition fund,
Just.
not fair. Just
oh,
just
big
transition
difference.
fund.
It's not fair, it's just. But it's an initiative of European Commission saying, if we're gonna push all the coal-burning factories in Poland to close, we need to give something in return. And here's ridiculous amount of money that will be distributed. How are you gonna be participating in that?
Can I add a few words? We're not talking only about just transition fund, about 7.5 billion euros. We're talking about 52 billion euros for Horizon program. And probably you should know that everyone can apply for those money. And for example, for digitalization, climate change, European Union could provide us with more than 15 billion euros. So, for example, agriculture, 10 billion euros. And we are talking about money for innovations. So, my message to FinTech ecosystem is to look at possibilities to participate in bigger programs, to find your partners in other EU member states and compete, to be brave and compete for those money. Because this Commission has very ambitious EU strategic agenda, not only in climate change, but also in the fields of competitiveness.
And you might be wondering why we have Mindaugas with us, while we're talking about the EU funds. And Mindaugas' job is to ensure that whenever those funds are being used, they're not being abused for bad things. And as well as FinTech can be an enabling factor where you need to certify a particular loan as green, as sustainable, and there are multiple business opportunities where I guess that's why you are here, is also our job to ensure that those funds are really serving those initiatives. And here, maybe you can tell us about the vigilance and the initiatives that we will be taking to ensure that we do not fall in the difficulties that we had with previous initiatives on European funding.
Thank you, Marius. Good day. Is it working? Okay. This one is working, okay. Thank you, Marius. And as I was already introduced, I'm representing Financial Crime Investigation Service. Who we are? Actually, we're protecting, in few words, state budget, EU budget, and financial system of Lithuania or part of EU or world. And speaking about this event, actually, it's not the first time I'm here, but it's first time I got invitation to such kind of event. And the first impression was when I've got it from Rugile that is it invitation for fox to chicken house or is it for chicken to fox house? Yeah, but it looks like it's Friday, it's Saint Valentine Day, and we have really good atmosphere here. We're friends. Speaking about EU funds, actually we're not only supervisors or not only looking for abusing of that. Actually, we're part of that as well. We have one project within Horizon where we're making some, like it's provision as well, where we were applying for Krypton and etc. Actually, we're, as a service, we're using our IT specialists, where we're looking for big data analysis, we're looking for
safer transactions, and we're using probably, as all of you, the system like SWOT, like strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Why not to use that? And as it was already mentioned, that we should be active, and as a service for law enforcement, we're not against, or we're not always we're looking for opportunities and for possibilities, shortly like that.
Yes, but Mindaugai, we also must acknowledge that it's not only the EU funds that you are guarding, you're also guarding another very important aspect of your financial sector, which is ensuring that it's not being used for money laundering or terrorism financing. And linking to what has been said already on the panel, we had some issues in Europe, broadly speaking, and let's not focus on us also. In Netherlands, in UK, in the Baltics, in Sweden, everywhere these issues are abound and really are taking the attention of the policymakers. And European Commission has identified that we need to strengthen that area in Europe. And many countries have implemented various ways of how they institutionalize that risk management. You know, we have an FIU. In Italy, the FIU function is at the central bank. I'm not saying I want another function on my head. But the European Commission said we need to somehow combine everything into one maybe place. And let's challenge ourselves. Would you see Lithuania becoming a place where we lead the risk management of that type of risks in European Union? Or we're not ready?
Of course, actually, it was already showed on presentations that our financial system is raising, and if I remember right, in 2018, like 13 billion of euros were in transactions, and last year it's already 45. It means more possibilities, more transactions, more possibilities for threats. And of course, we need to think how to improve job, not only like country by country. It should be like, I think, the idea of region or EU or worldwide. And it's not possible to be warrior in this field, only one warrior in the field, you know. Actually, you know probably, and we have some initiatives, and together with Bank of Lithuania and with some private partnership, and we see what doing our neighbors like Latvia, I don't know, Sweden, we're part of Europol and etc. Actually, we're looking, and we have some initiatives, and one of the initiatives is Center of Excellence, and I think on this year we will continue to work on that.
Yes, if I may, Marius, I would like to add a few words. In 2016, intellectually, we were 2-3 years ahead of our main competitors. Intellectually, talking about FinTech, about probably issues related to risk management and so on. In 2018, the gap narrowed, and it's narrowing. And we need to find new niches for our activities. I do believe that risk management could be one of the areas where we could find our way for everyone, for fintechs, for financial institutions, for programmers, also for our public institutions as well. I think that risk management is a good topic to discuss.
I'll ask the last question to the panel, and you start thinking of the questions that you would like to ask the panelists. And my last question is actually to Marius. I've heard there is a rumor going on that Lithuania needs to become a real-time economy leader. And I guess that is connotation to the financial innovations that, you know, all of a sudden we can settle payments in real time, instant payments that the European Union is pushing for, pan-European initiative on instant payments. And I guess that also has to somehow be reflected in the business processes or legislation that would enable completely new business models to be implemented at least in Lithuania. That's my focus. So Mario, can you maybe give us some guidance or some hope on how this will be reflected in business processes?
It's a very good and at the same time difficult question. But in general, we're thinking what we could do to increase our structural growth, if I could say so, the growth of our economy. So one way to go is to change the structure of our economy, and this is what's happening, for instance, in the financial sector in Lithuania. But at the same time, if we manage to use all the IT technologies, digitalization processes, and what is happening all over the world at the moment, there is another way how to go, to make our economy move faster. And it could be applied, this principle, in every part of our economy. If you want to build this building, for instance, you can do it in 2 years, or with all the permits, land-related issues, and so on, we could manage to do it much faster. And this principle with digitalization could be applied in all the sectors of the economy. So this is the thinking that we are having at the moment under our roof, under our ministry. The question is which areas to choose to implement some pilot projects and where to start.
All right. So anyone willing to express their compliments on this Day of Love to the panelists are now welcome to do that, or to do it in a more subtle way and wrap it in a question. Anyone is willing to
Marius,
do that?
if I could intervene, Reagan once said that the worst sentences or words are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So imagine I'm a supervisor and I'm a financial intelligence officer, knocks on your door and says, "I'm here to help." So it's also important not to disturb the markets.
We have a question. Lady in white. Finally, we got one thank you. I have an answer, but I delegate it to the panelists.
Maybe I provide just a part of the answer, my understanding. I think that it should be in the interest of the banks themselves, actually, not to stay as being classical, calm banks, because the world is moving very fast. FinTech is really showing results, efficiency, reach out of, and many other things. I think it should be more in the interest of the banks than the government. This is my answer.
In more concrete terms, Payment Services Directive 2 requires banks to be transparent and open. We're talking about open banking. The leader of open banking in Swedbank is sitting in front of you. You can have a chat and they can tell you how they will enable and connect you to all the open data that they have. And we are where? In ROCKIT. Who would have thought 5 years ago that ROCKIT would be owned by Swedbank? Any more questions? With that high note, thank you very much, the distinguished panelists, and I pass the word to our hosts, and let's have a round of applause.
Thank you very much. I think it was really inspiring to see, the people from all of the relevant institutions actually discussing how we can continue developing fintech sector in Lithuania. I would like to continue with the next panel, the last panel for today, where we will hear from the industry, from the fintechs themselves, and we want to focus on the key challenges and the key opportunities that they see. I'd like to change the slide and also invite our panelists. So first of all, Ruslanas Telnovas, CEO at Mano Bank. Then we have Johannes Kolbinson, co-founder and CEO of Paystra. Sigutė Kuncevičiūtė, CEO at SumUp.eu Payments. And Agne Selemonaitė, Deputy CEO at Connect Pay. It's not that we couldn't find another moderator, but I thought it would be just more efficient if I do the moderation of the panel as well. So as you all seen, it was an interesting shift in terms of the fintech's responses. What were the key challenges that they foresee in 2020 compared to 2019? And in preparation for the panel, the panel participants were actually quite surprised that RegTech and compliance was not among the top 3. So perhaps I will do a quick poll, also just to engage all of you at the back as well. In terms of the fintechs that are in the room today, do you think that regulatory compliance is one of the top 3 challenges that you will foresee in 2020? Please raise your hand. Okay, so probably that's a fair representation, but I'll throw this question to our panelists as well. So we can start. What is your thought on that?
Well, I had a thought that probably these companies were not investigated yet, and because thinking about the fintech in general and the financial innovation and everything what's happening, it's not about the regulator that is innovative, must be innovative enough, but the companies, and because the people or the companies who use the payments, they are most innovative. So I think with regulation, with compliance, it's always the first thing that is supposed to be in fintech sector. So for me, it's like a no-brainer, and it's in what concerns our company as well. It's in our strategy this year, it's the top first priority to meet, like, be zero, like, tolerant to non-compliance, and make it the first thing in our investments as well.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised as well. Compliance is my background. I'm used to talk about this topic like for years on different stages, and now it's not under the key challenges anymore. But I guess after thinking a couple of days about these results of a survey, I think the ecosystem is changing a little bit as well. Let's say a couple of years ago, to find an experienced compliance officer within the market, I mean experience in fintech, it was mission impossible. Now it's a very difficult mission. I'm not saying it's an easy catch to find these kind of people in the market, but it's already doable. Also in terms of service providers, so in other words, companies that can help you to build a regulatory compliance program, there are much more now. There are also IT tools available. So I guess ecosystem is changing a little bit as well. And this talking about compliance and how important it is, switch the results a little bit, and the companies do understand, as you said, like, we must be compliant. We are not selling stocks. This is financial business, and it's regulated. It's heavily regulated, and it will remain heavily regulated in the future. So I guess that's my thoughts.
I also, well, I'm surprised a little bit, and I actually disagree with this result. I think that compliance is actually probably the biggest challenge and the biggest burden for fintechs, all the AML, GDPR, PSD, SCA, and what's coming up. For fintech that's according to the PSD is able to get a license with 125,000 euros in equity, you have to spend many times this amount just to be compliant. So it's kind of contradicting. And it's also, we see it on the market, it takes 3 to 5 weeks to get a bank account, or even longer, 2 to 3 months, especially for companies. So, and that's due to due diligence, KYC, AML. So this is really causing a pain to the whole market. So, yeah.
Well, maybe it's timely that we will, pass the microphone to Ruslanas, and perhaps you could comment whether, it's possible to, combine compliance and KYC processes in a streamlined way, but actually enable businesses open bank accounts much quicker. That's what you're working towards, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So, look, I'm quite wonder as well why it's not a topic of you all guys sitting here, because around, let's say, 80% of you are in transactional business, so it's like you're moving funds internationally. So for you, it's compliance, it's like much hot topic. It should be hot topic, but for us, it's even more, because we are we're a true bank. So we've got not only the transactional business, we've got the lending business. Actually, we came from the lending business. So for us, just to be not compliant in transactional business, it means that we are putting in risk our core businesses. So for us, it's quite hot topic as well. Of course, we trying to cooperate with some fintechs in order to provide them our infrastructure, our knowledges, and our capacities to support their businesses. But for us, the main thing is, what is your business idea, let's say. So a lot of fintechs here, they are quite in a risky businesses. So they are just taking high-risk clients and trying to make businesses there. So business model is the key. So what you are all about, and what is your business model? You try to operate in the market and trying to make money, because we are all here not like serving some. Of course, we're serving some social needs for the Lithuanian market, for international market, but we are all about the businesses and how we can generate cash streams, not only expenses on our balance sheets. So regarding the regulatory issues and compliance issues, so for us it's as I said, a hot topic, because let's say I had a look on regularly on our balance sheet and our HR balance sheet. So what I see there, so actually 70% of our people, they are working to keep the license. So, and only 30% of people, they somehow are frontliners or doing the business. So here is an impact. So 70% of my expenses or expenses of our bank is like about all the compliance and all the keeping the license. It's not about expanding the business, even within the Lithuania. So here is an issue, of course, but as a true bank, we've got more than, let's say, one level of such an issue. So we've got the core businesses, we've got lending businesses, we've got some guarantees, we've got transactional business as well. So for us, compliance is more broader than only AML or client identification and putting them on our balance sheet. So,
well, thank you. I think, of course, fintech is one of the most regulated sectors in economy, and it is fair that there is a certain degree of compliance that the companies have to look at. And I think the key question here is what is the relationship with the regulator, and whether you are able to work effectively. And perhaps just a few words in terms of what's your experience in actually having that sort of compliance as you actually continue your business.
We'll go in turn. We would like to have a more open dialogue with the regulator on the supervisory level, because my experience came from marketing Vilnius in Lithuania as a FinTech hub, basically, and for telling companies how good it is to be here. Now I'm on that side where we actually promoted and some investment happened, and we have to sustain that. And the experience, what we had with the supervisory part of the regulator is a completely different picture. And I'm sure there are changes happening over there. I'm sure there are moving forward as well, but what we want to be as a contributor to that change as well, and we want to be talking more openly as well what's happening in the market and how they should react or how they could react, and help them do that as well. One of the initiatives that we are participating at, I'm sure we'll be talking about that later as well, is the RegTech, where our mission is to be as open and transparent as possible and take that bureaucracy burden from our side and from the government side as well, and see where we can work together so that would be opened and more transparent, basically. So dialogue is a key thing. I think that's what happened on the marketing side of the Bank of Lithuania, and I think it's very much the time to be happening on the supervisory level as well. We saw the numbers of the companies that have invested already in Lithuania, so obviously they have to be supervised in some levels, and that's compliance. That's innovation, and that's where we want to be at the front of the agenda as well.
My experience is maybe different. I tend to disagree, sorry. In terms of relationship with the Bank of Lithuania, I'm CEO of a Lithuanian sum-up entity, but I'm also heavily involved in the company's expansion globally. So I work with many regulators and can compare the level of communication we get here, even with supervision, and the level of communication I get in other countries. So it's a night and day experience, I would say. Even these kind of minor things like ML trainings that you can watch online, if you tell this in other geographies, people get shocked. And if you explain to them that this training is, by the way, in English, they just do not get it. So I definitely would not define our regulator and relationship with the regulator as conservative. Areas for improvement, definitely. There are always areas for improvement, and I'm really glad to hear that there are companies that really volunteer to participate in this RegTech initiative. It definitely can do even better. But while comparing, even with European Union, I would still say that it's a good place to be, and we're glad to be here.
That's what we like to hear.
Well, I want to congratulate the authorities here on the achievements. And this is exactly also the reason why we set our company down here. We looked at several places, the UK, Luxembourg, Malta, Croatia, Portugal, and this was the only authorities that said, okay, how can we help you? All the other authorities, they said, another troublemaker. What do you want? You know. So here's a completely different atmosphere, and kind of solution-minded and business-minded. And I think that's a key, and I hope that this will also be for the next steps we're setting up a center of excellence here for risk management, that this will be kind of a solution-minded and business-minded, because currently with the AML, I mean, I agree, but we have to fight the fight to money laundering. But currently we're trying to kill a fly with a nuclear bomb. I think there are more smarter ways to do this, and I think that we should be solution-minded here and business-minded, not killing all the business with additional compliance burden.
things, and just a short reflection that in my view, risk management, it's not about business, so it's, but okay. We are in good talks with the regulator. We're always open, and they always find time to meet us. Since, as I mentioned, so AML and compliance issue on this level, as many of fintechs are sitting here are talking about, so it's only part of our businesses. And for me, it's like we still got place to improve, to develop new models of true banking. I mean, so what is a bank for me? Bank for me is like a transformation of maturities and amounts and taking the liquidity from unprofessional market participants and redistribute these opportunities to the businesses, to the other private individuals. Since our Lithuanian market in Baltic states and even Europe, so we've got a highly concentrated banking market. It means that we've got some mainstream banks. They've got their home, as they name their home markets, and they act defensively. So they just keep this house closed, and that's it. So fintech is acting in a different way. They are acting offensive. So they are trying to cross the borders and to make businesses within the entire Europe and the world. In such a terms, so we've got not a lot of experience, let's say, from the regulatory side as well, because no business models were developed here. What now fintechs are talking about? Let's say cross-border lending, cross-border depositing, or taking the deposit cross-border. So taking the liquidity within the one geographical market and redistribute lending to another market. Even doing this from Lithuania, taking deposits from German and start lending in Bulgaria. So here you can find the maximum value added to your services. But here again, so if we have all the right competences and the experience in place, even within the regulatory cabinets, because there is no such an experience, we've got no such experience 20 years. So, and then when we come to the regulator and say, okay, we try to cross-border our activities to another markets. So here is our business model, how we can go further. So, and it takes time, because this is a new business models, and all you guys here got a lot of business models that our regulator, they haven't seen yet. They are not tested yet. So here is an issue. And here I think that together with the regulator, we can develop and explore this financial world within the next 1, 2, or 3 years. But in general, if just to reflect how you are doing with the regulator, so for us it's like open dialogue. So it's not only an issue of AML or issue of compliance within the transactional business. It's about developing and exploring new models of doing financial business and doing banking all around the Europe at least.
Well, that's really great to hear that. I mean, despite the obvious demand to be regulatory compliant, that there is the dialogue with the Lithuanian bank in Lithuania, and it seems that it is a constructive dialogue. It does look like, it is open in terms of developing new business models as well. So I'd like to probably move on to another challenge that's remained in the top 3 for the 2 consecutive years. That was product and IT development. I think it's also closely related to the talent and the skills that we have. And perhaps it's sort of a related question that I want to ask in terms of your teams, and when you are recruiting, do you see, what is your sort of vision for the team, and how do you select people to ensure that your company continues to grow and continues to develop your products? Perhaps with Agni as well, because I know that you're heavily involved in that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my roles is put the team together and organize so the work is done. Are we talking about tech team only?
Yes.
Or? Okay. I think our reflection is like the talent attracts talent. So as a selling point, or how we put the tech team together, is like we have a really ambitious and really great CTO within the team who has a vision of how the product should be developed, and he shares democratically with the team. And I think that's how it's escalated. So we didn't, well, obviously IT and tech is very different kind of people, and very difficult people to attract usually. But we didn't have that many issues so far. Also, partly of our, because we operate on that level that all our creativity and heads are here, and they create the sort of the product, and then they have the extension in India, which is part of our investors team as well. So we have a really large capacity to innovate and try and test and do different products. So probably that's a bit different situation from other companies as well.
I may be not the right person to comment on the tech team. My tech team is in another jurisdiction in Europe, but from overall hiring perspective here in Lithuania, we have a fastest growing sum of office globally, not maybe the biggest in numbers, but in percentage-wise, the fastest one. We didn't face any bigger issues as well. I guess it very much depends from the strategy. I 100% now agree that talent attracts talent, and as we say, we hire good people. So in other words, if we find the right fit for the team, we take that person. Everything is learnable. I guess in FinTech, what you knew yesterday, it's maybe not something that it's enough to know today. It's just changing so quickly. So I guess it's more about attitude, about willingness to learn, eager to learn, these kind of things. So yeah, I wouldn't describe our experience here in Lithuania as negative, but we haven't searched for tech people yet. So.
Johannes?
Yeah, well, we are quite happy with the talent available here. We're a highly technology-focused company. And we use stock options to attract and retain people, and also to align the goals so that everybody is working towards the same goals. But we are a payment card acquirer, and it's quite a specific area, and it's difficult not only here, everywhere, to find people that know payment card acquiring. And it's not taught in any university. So if the universities here could start a course on payment card acquiring, I think that would be very good. I could participate in giving some knowledge in that. So, but otherwise, we're quite happy with talent here.
Yeah, and I think one of the Invest Lithuania remits is to actually feed back to the universities in terms of what kind of specialists the companies need and sort of help develop the pipeline or the future talent. I would like to jump onto the opportunities that the survey participants have identified as the key ones that they see in 2020. So just to remind you, the 5 opportunities were open banking, instant payments, personal finance, digital currencies, and RegTech. So let's start with open banking, which has the potential to reshape competitive landscape and consumer experience. What are your thoughts and perhaps specific opportunities that your company foresees with the open banking initiative? And we can start with Ruslan.
Yeah, thanks. Regarding open banking, my view on the market and what's happening here, let's say main trends, it's like we've got Main Street banks and we've got the rest of the world. So open banking have nothing to do with the interest of mainstream banks, because they've got all the customers in Lithuania or within the other country. So why they need open banking? So no interest to have open banking, because as I said, they play defensive game. Yeah. The rest of the world, it's like access to the whole entire market. And here is the highest interest just to go there. In terms of technical stuff, so the idea is quite great idea. It's like actually will support the development of the fintech and financial markets, but here again, so we've got Berlin Group, and we've got some other groups, so we've got no single standard of open banking or connecting your ecosystem to the bank's ecosystem. So here we've got the quite clear issue how to go there. So let's say in order you are fintech and you are planning the extensive expansion within the entire Europe, how you will do so? You will create the single solution for single market. So it's not about fintech. So it's about just trying to connect to the infrastructure of main street banks and trying to use this. So here a lot of things that should be done in the nearest future, and the rules of this game should be very clarified just to make open banking come true in a very short period, because then it could be, let's say we've got open banking in 10 or 15 years only. So here is about investments. Of course, I understand the main street banks, because why they should do these additional expenses. They've got everything. They've got all the clients in the world. So why they should open their systems? But of course, because of the regulation, so it's not a technical stuff. We've got all requirement to get these two open APIs, and so theoretically we can connect to this system, but in practically when you are just dealing with such an issues, everyone in this place knows what it means to their organization to connect to Main Street Bank. So yes, it's developing, but a lot of things to be done just to make open banking a true story.
Thank you. Do you have a comment, Johannes? No. Okay. So moving on to another opportunity of growth that we see fintechs identified for the 2020 is instant payments. And we know that Centralink is gearing up to launch Target 2 system starting from February 2020, which will enable access to more than 1,000 banks to use the system and initiate transactions in euro. What specific opportunities do you think this opens up for your companies, and how that could drive the customer experience as well?
Okay, well, we've been exploring the opportunities, and obviously that's the key thing for our expansion for the existing customers and for the new customers. This is great that is happening. Now we saw the major devil in the details. We know that the requirement, for example, to use Target 2 is you have to have at least 1 million transactions outgoing, not the sum, but the outgoing transactions within the year, which we looked at the numbers of last year's, 2019, of how many companies that are based in Lithuania who would be applying for that. It's only 3. And basically, considering that you have to be your reputation has to be cleared, those 3 companies had been fined already. So we don't know how this is going to work, and we would suggest to keep on talking how could this be developed, because obviously that's very interesting, and I'm sure like the majority of the companies would agree with that, that it's an expansion, another game changer on the map, as was SEPA and with the central link, right? We would have suggestions, so obviously that could be a commission fee that is equivalent, and we know that you have to support the commercial side of Central Link, and obviously there are other ways of doing it than just, you know, we want to be open to competition and we want to compete on the market on equal basis. So that's the details that are there.
From our perspective, we are still in process of connecting to Central Link, but definitely that was one of the key factors why we chose Lithuania's jurisdiction to get a license. We are still heavily operating through our banking partner network, and will continue to operate like this, but definitely Central Link, I mean, again, there are only a couple of countries where fintechs can connect to payment system at central banks. In fact, I personally know only 3. So it's a huge advantage of the jurisdiction, and especially for smaller players that have issues with the banking sector, finding partners, and etc. So as an option, I guess it's great that we have it, but I agree with my colleague that definitely it's not a very easy process to connect and also to expand the central link, but by the end of the day, it's not, I mean, you are connecting to the central bank payment system, so it shouldn't be that easy. So I guess it's a matter of how prepared you come.
We have been looking into the Central Link, and I think it's a great initiative. We are evaluating it for ourselves. There's a challenge. We are dealing in 10 European currencies, and the Central Link is only open for euro. So we always have to have a second system up. So that's something that we are just looking into.
Here is again one more quite hot topic of doing businesses within next couple of years. For us, Target 2 is enormous opportunities, and definitely we will connect to this system, and actually we are starting our integration to Target 2 system. And I welcome all you guys here just to explore these opportunities and try to do the same. Why? Because we are like in quite an open talks with the regulator. And 1 month ago we met with the board, and so one of the main topic was, hey guys, how we can operate and deliver services to our clients in the world where we've got the exclusion policy, exclusion from infrastructure. It means that the access to the infrastructure right now is getting more worse. So how we can do businesses? How the fintech companies that are decided to operate from Lithuania, how we can keep these companies within our market and then within our license in such a world where we've got the exclusion from the infrastructure. So could you give us a help just to solve this issue? Because it's for us, you know, we are in a lending business and transactional business, but for the guys who are only in transactional business, how they will operate in case they've got only access to SEPA and no other chances to create and provide services for their customers. So for us, Target 2 is a quite important project, and we will go for that. And let's say our ideas to the central bank was if we can cooperate and try to produce in some reasonable time access through the Bank of Lithuania to the all major currencies in the world. Let's say to create some alternative payment network where all the guys that are operating within the Lithuania can can join it and not asking, let's say, how it was said here, 1, 2, 3 or half a year just to open a Nostro or Loro account within our institution and pay a lot of euros or dollars for that account, and in 3 months just to close this account. So this is the reality of the access to main or basic payment infrastructure right now. So in case we can organize somehow or help our fintech companies that are residing within Lithuania to get an easy access to the main payment infrastructure within the entire world. So it would be the great job, but it's not only the great job, it must job that should be done. Because other way, in case we are just leaving the new companies to compete within the, let's say, in market conditions, where the main street banks and the main operators of the payment infrastructure just providing or exaggerating the exclusion politics right now. Of course, because of the AML, KYC, a lot of expenses to keep you all guys sitting within our Nostro or Loro accounts. So it's all about that. So, okay, I can agree with them. But again, in case we are in financial or in fintech businesses and 50% of companies, they are just making their businesses within the remittance and payments. So access to infrastructure is the key.
I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if Bank of Lithuania has plans to develop, those connections and infrastructure for other currencies, but we'll definitely take it to them. I'll move on to probably last question for the panel before we open to the audience to ask questions. So RegTech was one of the key opportunities that a lot of fintechs foresee for 2020 and beyond, of course. Where do you think, what areas of RegTech are most ripe for innovation? Where do you think that innovation should come from?
Okay, we were one of the 3 companies that were participating in the sandboxing right now. I would invite everyone, I think it's on 24th of February, that the results will be presented of how it happened. So we worked on providing data sets with the vendors who were doing all the open data and open bank, not open banking, but delivering data to the, as a form of reports to the Bank of Lithuania. We think that's going to be saving a lot of hours of our work, really, just compiling the data. And if it can be done in a very transparent way, very automatically, then we are up for that, and we want to be huge contributors to this. Another area probably where this could be applied is, as I said, the supervisory part as well. The experience we had, it took hours and hours of data collection and provision to the Bank of Lithuania. So if that could be another step forward as well, where the supervisory automation could be done through that. So that could be a huge saving for the Bank of Lithuania resources and our resources and a way forward. But sorry, just the experience for that was awesome, really. That's where really the dialogue with the regulator worked, and really, really we're pleased with that.
Yeah, 100% agree regarding RegTech. An initiative that it's super cool, and reporting is one of the low-hanging fruits. I think we started these discussions like a couple of years ago. I'm glad to see that the results are already coming. It will save a lot of time for all the market participants. But what I want to add, it's very important that we understand this is not something that the Bank of Lithuania should do alone or other governmental institutions. There should be involvement from the market players. We cannot expect that the regulator will deliver everything on the table and will just do not contribute. So I'm really glad that we have companies like Connect Pay that volunteered, because again, it's investment, it's time, but if we want to kind of see this environment functioning efficient, everyone needs to contribute.
Well, I think of all these opportunities that were mentioned, I think RecTech is from our point of view, is the main one. I believe that there's opportunities in disrupting AML compliance with RecTech. So we are, for example, setting together a system where we can onboard a new customer within 2 days and all down to 15 minutes. But this is done just with systems, and we are trying to do this by increasing the quality at the same time. But this is something that the market needs, and I think that if the ones that are providing such solutions will be having huge opportunities on the market.
Thank you.
Yeah. RecTech and reporting, it's like another hurt for our company. I will explain why. So actually, well, again, we are the bank. So we've got the same reporting as Swedbank, SEB, or HSBC, or whatever bank in the world, in the Europe they've got. So the same reporting, same extensive. So we are in talk with the regulator just to, I've got such not mine idea, but I like it that always you shall put figures in the right place. So and then you can compare and make some decisions on it. So put the figures. So our figures are not such the figures that SEB, Deutsche Bank, or Swedbank got. So that's why we think that such an extensive financial prudential reporting that are applying for fintechs or for the startup banks. So they are not we shall actualize the reporting according the business model and the volumes the organization produce. Now we're in talks with the regulator just to somehow to start talks and the real let's say real actions, how we can together do something and to make an easier and make the life more easier to upcoming companies, the companies that are coming to Lithuania. So we just the first license, the first small bank, perhaps smallest bank within Europe, and but our initiative is like that because it's hurt us. As I mentioned, 70% of our personnel were working on compliance and on reporting. So then I said, hey guys, when we will produce our businesses? Because if we are not producing the business volumes, so tomorrow we have nothing to report. Yeah, that's why our organization shall be more concentrated on doing businesses, but not like 70% of our time we just report and doing compliance and all this regulatory stuff. The initiative of RecTech that is coming from the Bank of Lithuania is quite welcoming. I'm very appreciate these initiatives, but it's not an easy task to do this. That the Bank of Lithuania can provide the market participant the hub or some IT solutions just to produce reporting in more or less automated way. It's like you are using this hub just to intro the data into the system, and the regulator, they've got the reporting at their hands, and there is nothing more to do within that report. But again, organizations, they've got different business models and different types of data, different products and all this stuff. So how to put it on into one place? So it's technically it's an issue, but in some extent I think that it's quite we can solve this issue, and I think that Bank of Lithuania is doing well, and in case we've got the It's some kind of automation of prudential reporting tool. Within the next 12 or 24 months, it will be once again, it will be very, very welcoming tool to all the companies that are already operating within the Lithuania and that are coming to Lithuania. And hey guys, you can report easily, so forget about it. Just do business within the Lithuania, do business cross-board. Just concentrate how to attract customer, how to deliver your business model to your clients, because it's all about the client. Yeah. And now we are all about the products and all about the reporting. So in case we've got this help from the regulatory side and from the governmental institutions, let's say once again, so this KYC and remote identification issue. So why each organization should do separately? In case the guy with a passport, they came to, I don't know, to BT or to Swedbank or to SEB, and once time they show that he is here or she is she, and that this person is quite heavily identification got identification within the one procedure. So why other market participants cannot use that? So here we can talk about this, but here is about, then we are talking about businesses, but not about just how to report what we cannot produce. Yeah? And when the whole community will be more focused on doing business than on doing reporting or how to comply to the issues. So we've got here enormous volumes of operations, new business models, and all about the businesses and all about the value creation to our customers, creation of new jobs here in Lithuania, and just to expand in our FinTech initiatives within the entire Europe.
I just want to add, because Ruslan has reminded me, one of the disruptors of the market, well, not the market, but in Vilnius, what we did, the open data initiatives, where we opened the data of the municipal companies and the rest of the data that we collected, that actually led to a lot of innovation in regulation in some ways, and some other like innovative tools creation, where as a municipality we didn't have to invest heavily a lot of anything, basically. It's just opening the data and allowing it to be used. Obviously there's GDPRs and everything involved, but I'm sure like if one of the opportunities of 2020 is the opening the data and making some use of it.
Yeah, so I think probably just to wrap up, it seems that RegTech success depends on collaboration between the companies that come with RegTech solutions and propositions, and of course the openness and willingness with the...
Why we are not putting this, the rails next to existing rails? Because it's inefficient, yes? Because this is the main infrastructure. One more tube, one more gas tube to the existing gas tube. Here is again, in case the customer is identified by someone else. So why we can't use this operation? Because it's anyhow it's an efficient way just to do business. So here we're in the financial sector.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the need for more cooperation, and I think we have really good foundations and the openness and the willingness with the central bank to actually have those discussions with companies that come in with their solutions.
And of course, it's not about only central bank. It's about regulation as well. It's about governmental. It's about laws we've got in place. So
absolutely agree. Let's thank our panel today. And I'd like to thank you all who participated in the survey, who came today, who spoke at the panel and made the presentations. Please, if you haven't done that yet, download the FinTech Landscape report that's available on the cards and the slide here. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Ačiū, tu čia gerai. Aš jau galvojau, bet tu šaunuolė. Thank you.
prašau. Aš atsiprašau, Ruslanai. Ruslanai, aš jums tik norėjau padėkoti labai. Ačiū už dalyvavimą.